Have you ever known someone who is just an absolute powerhouse in their career? They're sharp, they're confident, they're always on top of things. But then, when it comes to their love life, it's like they're a completely different person. It's this really fascinating and honestly painful puzzle. And today, we're going to try and figure it out.
So let's really break this down. On one side, you've got this person who is shrewd in business, they're undaunted in social situations, and they can argue their point like nobody's business. But then, a switch flips in their intimate life. Suddenly, they become almost powerless, innocent, too pure for their own good. They're the ones who miss these giant, flashing red flags that seem so obvious to the rest of us, always hoping for the best, even when a partner has shown them time and time again that they're just not trustworthy.
So what is going on here, right? It's not about being unintelligent. It's not a character flaw. There's something much, much deeper happening that stops them from putting up those essential protective walls in the one area of life where they need them the absolute most. Let's get to the bottom of it. Well, the answer, it actually starts way back in the past. What we're looking at isn't a weakness at all. In fact, it's a brilliant survival skill that was developed in childhood. A skill that is just, well, it's outlived its purpose.
This brings us to this really powerful concept called unwarranted innocence. Now, this isn't about being naive in some sweet, charming way. No, this is a heavy-duty psychological defense. It's a state of mind that a child was literally forced into because seeing the full, terrifying reality of a caregiver they relied on for everything, well, that was just too dangerous to their emotional survival.
And to make this really concrete, just imagine being a little kid, completely dependent on an adult. To fully accept that maybe your mother didn't actually want what was best for you, or that your father was truly an awful person, or that another relative might be abusive. I mean, that realization would be psychologically shattering. It's a truth that's just too big, too scary for a child to possibly handle. And this quote just nails it. This wasn't a passive thing. The child actively learned to take on this hopeful, naive point of view. They literally trained themselves to look for the good, to explain away the bad, and to not see what was right there in front of their eyes. Why? Because that was the only strategy they had to keep themselves together.
Okay, so that's the then. How does this childhood adaptation turn into such a deeply challenging pattern in adulthood? Let's unpack how this old survival skill ends up sabotaging the present.
Cauterized and numbed. Wow, what a powerful image. It's like the internal alarm system. The part of us that should be screaming at the first sign of trouble in a relationship has been switched off. But here's the kicker. It's only switched off when it comes to intimacy, the very place where it was once too dangerous to leave it on.
So let's watch how this plays out. A partner does something that just feels off. Maybe they're constantly unreliable, or they're a little dismissive of your feelings, or they're dishonest about little things. For a split second, that internal alarm goes off. It's that gut feeling that says, hey, something's not right here. But then, that old childhood programming kicks in. It silences the alarm, pushes the evidence aside, and replaces it with that old, familiar, hopeful story. Oh, they didn't mean it. Or they're just under a lot of stress. Or it'll be better next time. And so the cycle repeats, and usually it gets worse over time.
Just understanding this pattern is a huge first step. But how do you actually start to change it? Well, the path forward doesn't start with some big confrontation. It starts with compassion for yourself.
And this is so important. If any of this is ringing true for you, or for someone you know, you have to get this. This is not about being stupid or weak. Not at all. It's the result of a past strength that's just become a vulnerability today. The self-blame has to stop right here.
This was a learned response, and it was born out of pure necessity, switching off that part of the brain. That was an act of profound self-preservation against a reality that was just too much to handle. So the whole journey of healing is really about learning that it's finally safe to be vigilant. It's safe to turn that brilliant mind back on and to trust what it sees, even in love.
This is everything, right here. This lesson sounds so simple, but it is the absolute bedrock for building healthy boundaries. You simply can't enforce a boundary to protect yourself from unkindness if, deep down, you don't believe you're actually worthy of kindness in the first place. So that first critical action is internalizing this truth. You deserve to be treated with care and respect by the people closest to you. That belief, that's the revolution that makes all the other changes possible.
So, we'll leave you with this question. The road to building healthier boundaries, it doesn't always start with some huge, dramatic confrontation. Maybe the kindest thing you can do for yourself today is to just not dismiss that little nagging feeling of doubt.
Maybe it's just trusting your own perception about one small thing. Because learning to listen to that quiet internal alarm bell and actually believing it, that is the first and the kindest step toward finally protecting yourself.